Welcome to Unwarranted Music
No. I'm doing it. No.
What?
Refuse. I'm doing
Why?
it. Because
Why?
you're bad at it.
Good.
Hello and welcome to Unwarranted Music Opinions, a show in which three music nerds pummel each other, just shove music into each other's ears viscerally and violently. I'm June Lindberg, here with Chaz Jenkins.
We're Unwarranted Music Opinions, and you are a very respectful gentleman, and we respect your opinion.
And here's Brian Courtney. I'm confused.
That was a Meat Men
bad.
reference.
What was a bit?
It was a Meat Men reference.
Yeah,
Never mind.
It didn't land.
Yeah, really.
No.
It
Get it.
happens. It happens. Anyway,
you
yeah.
just-
Welcome back
You
to
took
the.
No, we gotta do that again.
No,
You
we
took the
don't.
wind out of my sails. Yeah. No, we can't do that. Just say hello, you bitch. Hello and welcome to Unwarranted Music Opinions, the show with a very low-tier theme song. I'm June Lindberg, here with Chaz Jenkins.
Oh, fuck you. You suck. You suck.
And Brian Courtney.
Hey, hello.
Talking to your mic, fucking
Oh, yeah.
asshole. No
Hey.
one can hear you.
You can hear
Sounds
me.
like you're talking from the other side of the room.
No, it doesn't.
You're literally looking in the wrong direction.
I'm looking at a horse, like this funny horse. Go ahead.
And today's episode is themed. It is a
2020.
2020
New
episode.
albums.
where we have all chosen a record that came out this year to keep ourselves updated with new stuff coming out. And we are going to kick things off with Brian's pick.
I picked.
Fucking talking to your mic.
I'm trying to post this horse.
Bro, wait. You have time. You don't have to do it now. The horse can
I'm
wait.
trying to post this horse.
So what happened was my laptop's keyboard doesn't connect to my PC, and I was like, why won't it paste? It's because I was using my.
Why would it
There's the horse. I mean, look at that horse. It's
I
fucking
know.
hilarious.
Well, I don't see it.
Yeah, you see? You see? It was really
Stop
important.
looking at memes while we're recording.
That one in particular made me kind of weak. Look at it.
What?
Dude, it was totally worth it. Chaz, link the image. Keep all this in and then link the image in the description or something.
No, it'll just randomly.
Oh, there you go. That'll get splice it in or something. That's fucking funny. All right. Anyway, I picked Anna von Hausswolff's All Thoughts Fly. Anna von Hausswolff operates in a very obscure and overly complicatedly named genre called Neo-Classical Darkwave, which essentially is like a blend of classical music and like dark atmosphere, more or less, and usually accompanied by pretty eccentric or particularly kind of I guess I'm trying to find a word for it, like these
Minimal.
It's like a classical vocal style. This album is more of just an organist.
This album is not a neoclassical darkwave.
It's
Right, that's just what she's known for. Her release that really, The Miraculous was a release by her that was pretty popular, but Dead Magic is the one that kind of
absolutely made her explode. Nobody
Right.
really was talking about her, and that record at this point has almost 8,000 ratings on Rate Your Music. So she is
Yeah.
definitely one of the
and people seem
most
to be going
talked
back,
about new artists.
right, and people seem to be going back through and kind of giving other records in her discography kind of some credit too. Like it was good enough to make people kind of check her other music as well. So this was pretty anticipated for me because, Dead Magic was really, really good. It was so different for the year it was released into, and like such a year of good music. It's incredible something that kind of low on people's radar or not.
And the thing is too, like when we're talking about neoclassical darkwave, like that is like the most, like you say that, and anyone who doesn't know what it is, they're gonna be like, Jesus fucking Christ!
Yeah, it's
really
a little bit
that's the genre.
ridiculous.
Now
But
this one,
the point is, it's a very signature and unique sound. And it's not like there's a bunch of artists operating in that sound. And honestly, like outside of Dead Can Dance, which is one of the first, maybe the first band in that sound, the most legendary for sure, there's not a lot of other canon records.
You can pretty much name them on one hand, like the number of canon records.
And I think that Dead Magic was pretty big in that sense, like kind of revitalizing this genre.
now
All
this
Thoughts
one,
Fly, as you mentioned, is very, very different, though.
it's
All Thoughts
minimal.
Fly is
It's minimal, dark ambient. Although personally, I don't really agree with that genre tag. It's more just ambient. There are a few dark ambient moments.
I just see it as like an organ player. Like it's drone in some spots for sure, but it's pretty
just
much one instrument the whole time.
Anna in front of just a big ass organ that she got access to somewhere. Who cares? That's not what's important. That's not what's important. What's important is these.
It's important to me.
Fucking compositions that she creates on these organs and this atmosphere mood she just twists into visual like a fucking
and usually
witch.
like albums like this too, you kind of sometimes it takes a long time to kind of place where the tracks change or where but these like fade out sometimes. Like the songs are very, very distinct, even if I still do have trouble telling where I am in the record, but that's not really a bad thing. It's kind of just
not the point. Yeah.
Right.
This is a mood record. This is a record.
It's a whole experience.
And it's one of the best mood albums we've ever listened to for the show that I've ever heard, period. Theater of Nature is fucking fantastic. What an opener. That riff. Bum, 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 bum. Is amazing. Someone sample that.
It does have a lot of memorable parts in it.
Fucking sample that. It needs to be sampled.
Ooh, Kaw could sample that. That'd be cool. That's the only person I can think of who could sample that. Maybe work.
So the concept behind this album is that it literally is just an organ. So you have to really bring it to make this memorable, to make this stick, and to make me invested the whole way through. If we're not going to bring any other instruments in at all, like I don't even know if like the keys are like her main, like if she learned or if she's classically trained.
I think organ is her main instrument
because
there's a lot of her vocals on Dead Magic.
She's probably classically trained. That tends to be
these compositions are hypnotizing, and they create. We talked about music resonating a certain emotion. Like I brought up Aphex Twin a lot with nostalgia. I get a very nostalgic emotion and very mystifying emotion as well when I listen to this. I'm absolutely enthralled and enraptured in these songs. Length doesn't bother me on this thing. I think it's nearly perfectly paced. Just a few times I think the track just goes on a little too long. Just a few times. And obviously it's a mood album. So there's always that give and take of like, when would I come to this? I've got to be in a certain, if I want to get lost in the sound. But I think when I am lost in the sound, I'm truly no map, middle of the woods with no compass, lost in this cacophonous organ sound. The production on this fucking organ is masterful. I love how live it feels. Like we're just sitting in a cathedral and she's just going to town on this thing, this huge ass organ. Like some of the sounds and melodies she's able to create goes to the point where it doesn't even sound like an organ anymore. Like especially on the title track. That like triplets intro doesn't even sound like an organ. It just sounds like a completely different instrument. But it's all organ.
It's all coming up organ. I don't understand.
I don't get it. It's so beautiful. Some of the most, like, June's and Brian's picks brought the beautifulness, the gorgeousness this week, but for different reasons. I just think...
Yeah, mine's better. Probably.
I love this thing to death. There is not a weak track on here. Every track brings something to the table. I think my favorite is that opener. It is the most memorable to me, that melody. But I mean, when I'm sitting through the title track, the 11-minute song is just so powerful. I don't know. I just had a wonderful time with this thing. It really blew me away. I'll let someone else have a turn.
It was recorded in a church, Chaz, too. Like, I mean, that live feeling is very much there. And I don't even know if they did anything besides maybe, I don't know if they had to do any sweetening or production on this thing. Like,
I don't know either.
There's only some level of production and mixing going on. It's not like they just stuck a microphone in the room and
it was recorded and mastered. But I think a lot of the effects and stuff you hear are just,
it's just the organ echoing off the walls
and the results of like pedals and stuff, you know, the use of just the acoustic instrument. And I think it was recorded acoustically too, which is kind of rare nowadays.
It really adds to it.
It wasn't recorded on, I don't know if that's true, but it sounds like it kind of has a quality to where I can't really tell, and because of the nature of the recording of it, I feel like.
But I mean, it was, really truly adds analog to the atmosphere.
Overall, the way that it was recorded, the way that it's performed, all adds up to an experience that is very enveloping in the sound, and that's really what you want out of a record with ambient drone minimalism, sort of. I wouldn't really say Philip Glass-esque minimalism. It's closer to like Steve Reich, I think, where it's just notes that are held out for an extended period of time with these sort of oscillating feelings to them. And the one thing that I think it does really, really well, and that you really, like, for a drone record to be really good, this is something that I kind of look for, is when you have a chord change and it feels really significant, even if it's a small change. Because we will have had certain chords or notes going for a little while and then met with some sort of silence or just an extended chord. And when it changes and it shifts into a different note or a different chord, even the smallest of movement in these compositions can feel very overwhelming and powerful and important.
So many moments like that on this thing, in my opinion.
And I think that is a sign of a really well-crafted experience. I think that's a sign of a really well-written and composed record. That's something when I notice it in a drone record that makes me think, okay, this is definitely like in a drone. I don't know, like it kind of maybe seems like it defeats the purpose of the drone record, because the drone as a genre, it just drones along. It's typically, there's a lot of the same sounds and styles. So to talk about the changes being some of the most memorable and important moments might seem a little strange, but I don't know. I for some reason that just really sticks with me on this record. And there are definitely some drone records that don't have this level of change, but are still immaculately textured and have appeals in other ways. But for me, the best time that I was listening to this record, my most enjoyable experience with this record, was when I was super tired and I was just laying down. It was playing out of speakers. And I basically just closed my eyes and listened to it for the whole 43 minutes without doing anything else. You know, with my eyes closed, laying on the bed with the speakers right there. And when that's all you're doing and the only thing that you're really experiencing in that moment is this record, every little thing just feels so important. I just love the sound of the organ too. I love the organ as an instrument. I think it sounds great. I think Anna's a fantastic organist.
So much bass in it too. When the low notes are hit, just gives it so much oomph. Like, damn, it just sounds so good. It sounds so good. I totally agree. Because we've touched on drone a few times before. First time we talked about drone was, ironically enough, Metal Machine Music. And then the second time with Death Cube K. Two completely different records with some similar elements. And this one, same thing, you know. Drone is such an interesting genre where you can kind of get away with a lot of different things. But having that element of like non-changing chords or moments that repeat or go on for a long extended time, I feel like is a element that we've seen in all three of these records that I mentioned. This one, though, I feel like is more movements. These feel like composed pieces. Like she sat down and wrote the notes and how long she wanted to hold these certain notes, you know, so on and so forth.
I could see it being improvisational as well, to be honest, though.
I don't get...
Because I think It could be improvisational because I think that Anna might just be a good enough player to kind of understand. It's like a solo, a really good solo where the notes are held for just the right amount of time and the chord changes and the note changes are just perfect. I don't know if it is or not. I think it was written down, but I could see it being improvised.
I never got that feeling. I truly got like that this was meticulously written and planned. It truly astounds me how much I was just into this, and it just got better with every listen. I just really found myself getting lost in the sound and these beautiful compositions. What amazes me the most is how hypnotizing it is. The opening to the title track just blows me away every time I hear it. Just that fluttering like butterflies over and over and over, those triplets just. And then it finally changes, and then it comes into like the main part of the song. And just for a split second, the main melody of the opening track kind of is subtly played if you're really listening. Like, goddamn, just what an experience. I was not expecting to like this.
What about you, Brian? You chose this record, but we've been talking for a while.
It's pretty much all been said. It's really, I think it's gorgeous. I love the cycling, like how hypnotic it is. It's extremely enticing for a drone record, keeps me interested, which I've had trouble with ambient and drone music in the past. I thought it was awesome. I thought somehow this straight up like organist album as a follow-up to Dead Magic, which has, you know, big vocal performances and like these huge long winding pieces. I think this, like, you know, was pretty awesome for a follow-up. I really enjoyed it too. To the point where I think it's a kind of flying under some radars this year.
It is because I've noticed a lot of the Rim reviews are like giving it not so good scores, and that just blows my mind because clearly she
has a decent score, but
I think it could.
Well, it's clear. It seems to me
it's better than most, so to me it's a little.
Well,
bit
it seems to me that people
like
are expecting more of the same in this case. I feel like we have an artist who got blown up from one particular album, so everyone's expecting more of that. And obviously that's not the case because this is like night and day compared to her last one, which a true artist like just sticks to their guts and does what they want to do and does it well.
Don't get me wrong, it's getting positive reviews, but like it's, you know, I feel like
some people are coming in and getting disappointed because they're expecting something else, and I think that's the problem. To me,
it could be.
I haven't heard her previous record. This is my first introduction to this artist, period. And I think it's an amazing introduction. I was shocked and appalled at how much I fucking loved this record. It's
appalled?
Appalled, because when you think of how I've reacted to music in the past on this show, long fucking 11-minute song that barely changes for like the first 5 fucking minutes of it. This should have been terrible. I loved this thing. I absolutely
Do you think this album might be a gateway drug, in a sense, to help you appreciate music that is kind of more like this?
I think so, too, because the emotions that it garnered out of me, I only feel to a few specific artists, Aphex Twin being one of them. And this honestly feels like something that he would do. Like, I could see him pulling this.
Do you think if you listened to this record, and then maybe the next day you turn around and you listen to Selected Ambient Works Volume 2 again, do you think you might enjoy it more?
Right.
Do you think you've maybe grown a taste for this kind of stuff?
Absolutely. And that's the thing, June. I've always had a taste. I'm probably the biggest ambient head of
ambient, I know, but just for lengthy
songs.
Very stable tracks.
Yeah. I think listening to this first before you listen to something like a 2.5 hour experience, like Ambient Selected Works Volume 2, it's a perfect gateway because it does so much in that 43 minutes with one instrument, and that's it. And that is hard to do. That's what impresses me the most, is how much she gets out of this one instrument. I mean, god damn. I don't know if anybody has anything else to say, because I know exactly how I feel about this record. I love this thing.
No, I pretty much agree. I think it's really good, and it's one of my favorites this year. I'm not, I've had trouble keeping up this year just because I haven't been as interested in keeping up. But this one is one of my favorites I've heard this year, to be honest. Like, just it's hard. I have like no complaints. It's just really good, really pretty. Like, I could come, and I think I could come back to it a lot too, just because it's such a great listen.
What about you, Brian? Because I asked Chaz the same question, if this could be like a gateway drug. But for you, I'd have the same question, but in a different sense, because I know you don't mind longer tracks. However, this is a record with no vocals, with no hooks,
but it's
with
got
very few chord changes.
But it's memorable. It's a lot of the stuff that's played is like, oh, that catches my ear, and that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. Like when I say things are memorable, or it's down to the person. You probably find like a lot of Team Dress stuff to be extremely memorable, whereas I find less of it to be memorable. Right? Like you probably remember way more about it than I do because it leaves more an impression on you. It's completely subjective, but I just find this one to have more memorable stuff on it. Despite lacking qualities I've liked in other music that I found more memorable or enjoyable.
Anybody who feels intimidated by like drone music, because it can be a very intimidating genre, I think this is a perfect beginner choice because it does so much by doing so little.
Additionally, I think that it's probably a good choice because it's not particularly off-putting or noisy the way a lot of drone records can be. It's not that dark.
It's not.
You
that
can
out
imagine
there
Anna sitting at an organ and playing it. It's an acoustically recorded, acoustically performed record, which is probably easier to get into for people who have like a classical background or just appreciate live music in general.
I agree.
Rather than like a noisy, weird electronic drone record.
Say with me now, decent to strong 9 on this fucking record. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Put some respect on my name. I'm here to sweep. We're getting close to the list, and I obsess over the list, because I thought it was awesome.
I'm hyped to see Brian's bottom 5. I know I'm barely gonna make Brian's top 10, but that bottom 5 list, I cannot wait to see. Who's gonna top the
I don't know, man. You might turn around because I did like a little preliminary one, and I was pretty fucking surprised at how like your presence was, like how present you were
on your top. Okay.
I would go with like a decent 8. I would say on this. It's really good. It's one of my favorites of this year. Although I haven't heard too. I
should preference. I do love this thing.
We'll see how it fares.
I should preference. I think why my score is so higher is because of just how enraptured I was with this music. With my new job that I recently got, I do a lot of driving. Listening to this while driving was just like took me to another world. It was crazy. Like my car started flying. It was wild. I don't know how I survived, but
okay. Dude,
it's awesome.
You gotta listen to next time it rains, we're in like fall season now. Next time it rains, you gotta throw on like Dark Throne, and it'll click. It'll totally click for you.
We'll
I swear to God. I swear to fucking God, bro. It'll fucking click for you. Like instantly, you'll be like, "Oh my God, it was the setting."
Someone pass me the dungeon synth. I'm ready. Like that's that.
Dude, here's my tape. I made this at home. I used a MIDI keyboard. I typed with like a keyboard to make notes. June,
give it a score.
Wait. Nah, boom. If it's a below an 8, don't even fucking speak to me. But you can speak because it was good.
I chose the latest release by Adrianne Lenker, the frontwoman of the band Big Thief, who have been making some waves in the indie and folk rock-esque music scene for the past couple of years, especially due to their album last year, UFOF. They actually had 2 records last year, UFOF and Two Hands. People typically prefer Two Hands, but I actually enjoyed UFOF more for the folky and beautiful guitar chords and progressions, the finger picking, and Adrianne Lenker's very distinct and lovely vocals. This was a continuation of a sound that Adrianne had explored on her 2018 record, Abyss Kiss, which is quite similar to this record here in 2020, which is quite humbly named Songs. Abyss Kiss actually contains one of my absolute favorite songs ever, of all time. I still listen to it all the time, the song Symbol. And I loved UFOF as well. So when I got wind that she was releasing another solo record, even more stripped back than UFOF.
Yellow flannel review from the Needle Drop.
Which was the most important, really, thing for June.
Review, and then I was like, oh shit, I forgot. I gotta go listen to it. And it did not disappoint. It was basically everything that I wanted.
Okay,
from an
I've got to expose you, June, before we get in this review. Can we just talk about how in season 1, June Lindberg was like, top 10, this is where the 9s start, and it was the #1 spot. And she's like, I don't give 9s all that often. Bullshit. You've listened to like 5 albums this year that you've given 9s to right off the bat.
5 albums in 1 year is not that crazy.
It's crazy for you.
Let's look at the pattern. Let's look at the pattern. Let's look at the pattern. Who's the lead vocalist? Girl. Okay. Good start. All right. What is it about? Oh, it's kind of quirky. Ooh, like it. All right. Third.
Really that quirky?
What's the third? Shut up. Third quality.
Acoustic guitar.
Gay is the optional one. Acoustic guitar is the third one. You know, acoustic guitar, kind of quirky, or has like a strange, you know, just some strange quality to keep it alluring. Whether it's like Fiona Apple being kind of out of the box. Whether it's Adrianne Lenker having a really good voice,
or God is my Copilot just being
basically it's like finger picking girl weird. Fourth is gay, and that's it. And literally, it's like to the fucking moon, to the fucking moon. Look at the track record. This is what happens when you grow comfortable with who you are.
Look at the spreadsheet.
A monster.
I should know because then you go down this rabbit hole, June, where you're gonna end up picking the meat man, and then it's just game over.
No, she's not gonna meatman herself. You can't undig that hole for yourself, Jed. You fucking idiot.
I'm buried. I'm in the coffin, Brian. I'm trying to get out.
You know, like the scene from the movie Buried with Ryan. I think Ryan Reynolds is in it, and it's like he's in the coffin and he has to get his way out, and all he has is the phone. You know how at the end there's dirt pouring in, and he hears people digging up a grave, but they're at the wrong grave site. That's you. Like the dirt is pouring into your coffin, and we're trying to save you, but me and June are at the wrong cemetery, and you're fucked. I mean, there's no way.
Anyway, June, I was really curious what you think about this because I saw your rim rating for Hibiscus, and you only gave it a 7. So I was curious of how this one would stand up to it.
I think Hibiscus had some fantastic highlights on it, but overall was just a little uneven.
Not this one.
That's really just as far as
I know your rating, June. Not this one. This one delivered. So let's talk about it. Absolutely gorgeous. Hot take, better than Innocence Mission. Full stop. Better than Innocence Mission. Which is crazy.
That's a hot take. I don't know if enough people know about that one.
Which is crazy because
for it to be a hot take.
I thought that was some of the most beautiful music we've ever heard for the show. Then here comes this fucking record. Songs. I mean, god damn those vocals. They're kind of raspy, a lot of falsetto, but there's so much mystery and soothingness to her voice. I love the vibe on this thing. Great vibe. Absolutely great. And the roughness in the production as well. Production has been stellar with everybody's picks. There's like studio outtakes that are sprinkled in, which I'm little like that's the quickest way to my heart.
I don't even know if it was studio. I think she may have recorded this at home because she actually came out with 2 records at the same time.
Studio as
songs and instrumentals.
Studio outtakes as in like stuff that shouldn't be there but is like left in just to give it more character.
Right. Well, you're right. It has that aesthetic of probably being home recorded and you hear like a dog barking or a door.
The pitter patter of the rain.
A dog barking because I was just thinking that.
The pitter patter of the rain and the wind blowing or the wind chime. Fuck.
Oh, that one's fucking great. I love hearing the rain. I can't remember what song it's on, but it's fucking amazing.
This is like lo-fi hip-hop beats to study to, but good. It's like amazing.
But like artistic and lovely. You know, not that those aren't, but this is kind of, you know.
I love
I'm not going to sit here and say this isn't at another level.
I love the live feeling on this thing. It's absolutely great. Better than Innocence Mission all across the board. Lyrics on this
driving
thing.
That point home. No one's
because Innocence Mission was beautiful, but a lot of weak tracks.
I feel like it's a big deal for you.
Well, it is. It is because I really love that album, which should show you how much I love this one. Because I thought the lyrical content on that one was pretty weak. Here, though, I mean, fuck. Some of the lyrics on this thing are heartbreaking. Specifically, the song I want to shout out.
It's probably Anything, right? Must be. It's the most beautiful song on the record.
No, Come, I think it was, or. Oh, what's the fucking song? Where she's talking about her mother. Oh, fuck. That's going to kill me.
Which one is this?
Not sure.
Maybe Not a Lot, Just Forever. It's not Zombie
I was just going to say maybe Not a Lot, Just Forever, but I can't remember off the top of my head either.
Anyway.
That's not one of the references that stuck out to me.
Lyrics are great across the board on this thing. Gotta praise the lyrics because there's so much emotion and introspectiveness and quirkiness that just really gives it so much character. Love tracks like Zombie Girl, Two Reverse, Forwards, Back and Rebound, I mean, fuck, like almost every song on here is such a catchy, memorable melody as well. And the acoustic playing, the finger picking, super dope. I mean, just across the board, this thing is fantastic.
The finger picking is really enchanting. Like,
yes,
every single time, everything she plays really kind of sucks you in.
That's one of the things that I enjoy the most about Adrianne's music, both her solo music and her stuff in Big Thief. I adore the guitar tunings, the chords, and the finger picking progressions that she utilizes throughout her music. It's basically, when I listen to her songs and I think about whenever I'm just kind of playing the acoustic guitar on my own, I can see a lot of similarities. Like, I'm not as good as she is, but the songs that she's writing are the kind of songs that I would want to write. And on her instrumentals record, which is basically separated into 2 tracks, the first track is like a 20-minute, mostly improvisational acoustic guitar just experience. And the second track is it's called Mostly Chimes. It is mostly chimes and just ambient sounds.
My only issue...
And listening to that first track of her improvising sounds a lot like whenever I'm improvising, and I just kind of connect very deeply with her style of guitar playing and just what she appreciates and gets from that instrument.
The only time we've heard acoustic music this good is the ending track to Ragdoll's Playground. And I never thought we would reach that peak again. But here we are, you know?
Oh, fucking Christ.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Shit, my only fucking spectacular comment.
My only problem with this record, the pacing's better for as far as the folk music we've listened to. Or at least like this type of folk, the finger-picking, very ambient music. It just gets a little slow at times with some of the 5-minute longer tracks, just a little long for my taste, but I mean, across the board, I have very few complaints. I think what sells me the most is how genuine it is, how rough it is, how home feeling it is, her lyrics, her vocals, the playing. It just all around creates this amazing vibe that I'm absolutely lost in. I mean, this week has been stacked with good music. Like, absolutely stacked. I've had a wonderful time this week for listens. So,
what about you, Brian?
What about me?
What do you think? We're on a podcast.
I like Anything a lot. That's my favorite song off of this thing. Just like a wonderful love song. Just fantastic. Everything about it. So endearing. I love Ingidar too. I don't know how to say that, but I like Ingidar. I like saying that. But I like the Everything Eats and Is Eaten, Time Is Fed chorus on that one a lot, and the general message of the song. Love Dragon Eyes, love My Angel as a closer. I love that My Angel has this like huge build up.
I love how
the vocals
it just
in.
stops.
I love that.
Love
like
how
it's such a great closer.
That ending to that literally left me silenced the first time I listened to it. When it just cuts off with like no rhyme or reason, just ends. Absolutely. Kind of crushed me.
Not a lot of complaints. Like Zombie Girl a lot too. That's has some of my favorite playing on the album in terms of the instrumental. And you know, I think the middle section maybe is my least favorite part, but it's not really bad or, you know, even remotely boring. It's just all really, really good. There's a lot of really good songs. Adrianne Lenker has some very relatable, I think, lyrical passages on here and some very memorable vocal performances across the entire thing. You know, hard to hate it. There's been a lot of records like this year where there's just, you know, kind of this timeless songwriting and playing style, but just the songs have just been so killer.
This album lyrically basically has everything that I want. You have these very pastoral descriptions and imagery full of just visions of the fall or the spring or wide open spaces. She mentions Minnesota a lot, which I believe is where she's from. But at the same time, it's quite personal. It's quite introspective.
She does kind of describe like the places she's from on Half Return too, which is another favorite song of mine. Just kind of like, which is just a bunch of lyrical passages like detailing like what stuff looks like, you know, and places she's from. You said she's from Minnesota?
I think so.
Yeah, it seems like
she mentions Minnesota by name.
Mm-hmm. And Minneapolis too.
And on the other side, you have the more emotional aspect of this record, which is it's basically a breakup record. And you can get this from a lot of the songs that mention love or
that's also
another
the fifth
individual
requirement for the June 9. Secret fifth requirement.
It's not a requirement at all.
See the walking. Mm-hmm.
It's a breakup record. It's also a pretty gay breakup record, which, again, is my bag, really.
It's not really gay.
It's gay. She was dating a woman.
I don't think that's true.
It is true. She mentions that woman by name on this record.
I don't know about that.
By name.
Yeah, her name is Zombie Girl, Brian. Come on.
That's basically what the track Zombie Girl is about.
Love the way she says kiss on that fucking track. Oh, I want to kiss.
Whoa, screaming about that. Bring it down.
I love the way she says swoon. I want to listen to your heart swoon. Light 9. Light fucking 9.
I adore this record. This is right up my alley. The acoustic guitar playing alone.
Yeah, the guitar sounds awesome.
Put this in like 8 territory. But I adore her songwriting, her lyrics, her vocals. She's definitely one of my favorite songwriters working today. And this is, like I've said before, like if I had the skill and the means to make an album, this would be basically the kind of album I would make. Very pastoral, wonderful for the fall, just the kind of music that you'd want to listen to while driving down a back road, like a back road around where I grew up, it kind of gives me that nostalgic feeling as well. Just from an emotional perspective, this is a sound that I immediately latch onto. Like, this is my musical home. It's like a nice heated blanket in the winter with a cup of coffee or hot chocolate. Just can't get enough of it. Like Absolutely. A decent 9 for me.
Yeah, I thought this sucked. I mean,
that's why I'm going to give it an 8.
Yeah, exactly. Chaz.png. So anyway, yeah, it's pretty good. Good record, good singing, beautiful, great songs. Really good. Enjoyable. No complaints. Kind of sucks. There's almost nothing to talk about because it's so fucking good and you all have said it all. But, I'm just sitting here collecting a check. That's not true. We don't get paid for this.
What?
Light 8. Light the decent 8.
Nice.
I should mention my favorite songs. To Reverse, Anything, Zombie Girl, Not a Lot, Just Forever. Those would be my 4.
I would go Ingidar, Anything, Half Return, My Angel. That'd be my picks.
I would go To Reverse, Anything, Forwards, Back and Rebound, Zombie Girl, My Angel. And That's Not 4. A Lot, Just Forever.
Okay. You can't just pick 5. We did 4. You just went and named like 5 or 6, dude. If I knew we had that many, I still would have only named 4 because those are probably, everything else is just good.
The Lips are back. The Flaming Lips. We've talked about them before on the show. Kind of a sequels here, kind of cheating a little bit, but who cares? We talked about my favorite album of theirs, At War with the Mystics, way back in season 1. Decently written out from you guys, 7s across the board. But I wasn't quite the punch that I was hoping for because I love that album to death. So here comes Flaming Lips 2020, new album, concept album.
Which it sort of is like, Flaming Lips in 2020 Omega Law a little bit, Yeah. Like it is kind of like that. Like, okay, it's a modern day, it's like, oh, fuck, new Judas Priest, it's kind of like that.
Right, because the Flaming Lips have been around for like 35 years at this point.
Late 80s. It's been around since the late 80s.
Crazy. Old bastards.
Wayne looks like a fucking wizard. He's so old.
Dude, that's mean. He can't control that.
He can, actually. But,
what?
2020, new Flaming Lips record, concept album, Intrigued, yellow flannel review from Needle Drop. Oh, shit.
Would you stop with this? He's a bald male. He doesn't know anything. That's not true. I'm sorry.
So I knew I had to pick this for the show because I don't keep up with new music like you two do. So when I heard that one of my favorite bands coming out with a new album that's getting actual critical acclaim, and they haven't gotten that since like Embryonic, which came out in like almost a decade ago at this point. Because their last couple records,
over a decade ago,
kind of poo-poo garbage. King's Mouth kicked butt, but wasn't quite what I wanted from the Lips until today.
No one wants poo-poo garbage on their lips, dude. Fuck that. It's just nasty.
I love this album, but funny enough, this is like the weakest album, in my opinion, for this week, which should say a lot. I'm really curious to hear what you two have to say, given our first time talking about the Flaming Lips and how that compares. Doing a little bit of sequels here.
All right.
But let it go.
I'm doing this. I'm going first. Okay. First of all, incredible. Tons of my favorite thing is there are tons of songs that are split into that had second parts that are split off into their own track, but they play right into it. And what's crazy is they do go right into it, but it changes so drastically. You know you're on a different song. It's one of my favorite things about this album. Second favorite thing that makes me love this thing to pieces. Lyrical content, which they did not fucking have on At War with the Mystics.
False. You didn't even read the lyrics. You are on the record saying that you didn't even check the lyrical content in the review for At War with the
Mystics. Yeah, that's because they didn't pull me in. But on this album, there were tracks like At the Movies on Quaaludes and Mother I've Taken LSD specifically, and actually also Assassins of Youth, that I was like, what are the lyrics about here? And when you read into it and the experiences that informed this album, to me, it just like brought it to a whole new level of good. Like before, it was really good, like gorgeous, sounds amazing. But then like the songwriting is also amazing. The first song here is one of the best songs I've ever heard for the show, and just one of the best songs I think I've heard just this year in general. But When Will You Return When You Come Down? This amazing tribute to dead friends that is so at home with my belief about like human life and what happens when you die. That like it's really like high stakes, high emotion. Like that, it's such a amazing. There's a desperation on this track that's just so real and true, and just makes everything that's so gorgeous about it stand out even more. This track flows right into Watching the Light Bugs Glow, which is this kind of
cool down
Casey
moment.
Musgraves, who's on like another album, track on this album. But I actually prefer this one. I love like the mood of this track, the sounds. It's really gorgeous. There's a lot of psychedelic elements on this album that go over really well. That are just really enthralling and also beautiful. Flowers of Neptune 6, I believe, is actually a continuation of Lightbugs Glow. It's kind of the second half of that song. And there's this wonderful change up with the drumming that sounds amazing. Dinosaurs on the Mountain, like kind of my least favorite song here. Even though
that melody is so catchy.
Really?
That's crazy.
I think that's one of the most memorable tracks.
I still like it. It just lacks the memorable lyrical qualities that elevates everything else. Like this is all still a really good track, but it's maybe my least favorite. And then you get At the Movies on Quaaludes, which is another really good song.
Great fucking melody.
Really good song. I don't know. It's just another beautiful, like kind of psychedelic track with this really high stakes chorus that doesn't really live up to some of the moments that have come before it, but it's still really, really good. Mother I've Taken LSD, which is like kind of this. There's one that's acoustic guitar and one that's piano. I remember, and then I can't remember if this one starts with the like ding ding. It's like a classic little. This song, singer-songwriter kind of melody on it.
This song starts off with the acoustic guitar. The other one you're thinking of is piano.
And the other one is the piano.
But we'll get to that song in a minute.
Either way, this is one of two songs. Yeah, this is one of it's Mother I've Taken LSD and Mother Please Don't Be Sad. The two songs with Mother in the title, which are both songs involving or to his mother. I don't know the names actually of the Flaming Lips members. Now that I think about it, I didn't bother to learn that shit while I was reading. I read their names a few times when I was reading, but I was more enthralled with the stories that informed the tracks. You get Brother Eye, which is like kind of another one for me that's just pretty good. Like just another.
I like the electronic breakdown kind of jam.
Then you get You and Me Selling Weed. Fucking amazing song.
Wow, that's my least favorite.
I was. That's really, I was fucking blown away.
I think the lyrics on that are cliche as shit. I think the lyrics on that are cliche as shit. That's crazy.
But they do it purposely to paint this image of like a foolish youth. Like it's absolutely to paint this image of like this fantasy they're living in.
Well, the thing is, and to remark on that, Chaz, I see that sentiment that you just described of some of the lyrics on this album being a bit cliche or still just obsessed with drug use the way that some of their really early stuff was. I don't see that at all. In fact, I see this as the Flaming Lips record that is probably the most negative, maybe not outright negative, but nuanced look at drug use.
Oh, because totally, yeah.
Even You and Me Selling Weed, I think that throughout, a lot of these stories, which do involve some kind of drug use, aren't very happy stories. They're about people who died or something bad that happens. Or, for example, on Mother, I've Taken LSD, it's not from the perspective of Wayne himself having taken LSD. It's a childhood memory of his where he saw his brother told his mom that he had taken LSD, and all he knew about LSD was things had been told in school that it will cause you to go crazy and jump off a cliff thinking you can fly and all this stuff. And it kind of shattered a bit of childlike innocence. And I think that a lot of this record lyrically is kind of and You and Me Selling Weed is an example of this.
Right. And I agree
with you. Kind of a
look
back on that childhood innocence.
Like I said, there's just a few like lyrical no-nos that always get under my skin when I hear them. He rhymes girl with world. And I just hear that and I'm immediately like, oh, come on. You could have gotten that point across a little better. But there is some amazing lyrical content on here. As we get into the best track on the album, Mother, Please Don't Be Sad. Holy shit.
Yeah, another amazing
Lips have not had a song of this caliber in a long fucking time. That piano melody, and then like, I don't know if it's a cornet, a flugelhorn. It's not a trumpet, and I don't think it's a French horn, but some type of brass instrument comes in and that melody over top this gorgeous piano structure. Fuck! I literally almost cry. The way Wayne's vocals, like, Mother, please don't be sad.
It's kind of like, to me, it's like a very flawed vocal performance. Like, I don't think he's the best singer in the world or anything. But honestly, it's just such a fucking amazing song. And it's
so heartbreaking.
You know, it's so genuine. It's from such a traumatizing moment. It's like, you know, it's all too real. It doesn't matter how he's singing. It reminds me of like some Kanye songs where the singing is obviously not great, but the emotion is so palpable, it doesn't really matter. Like, it totally overshadows any ability. And then that flows right into the second half.
Yeah, that drum.
I see the second half.
That drum breakdown. That drum breakdown with this marimba jamming. So
it's
good.
An amazing like instrumental track. Assassins of Youth is a really good one too.
I like the guitars on that. The acoustic. It feels kind of westerny. It's got like this kind of like jung jigga like hop.
It does. You're right. Yeah.
Lyrically, it's not like my favorite. I don't know.
I do think that the last three tracks, while they're good, I wouldn't call any of them bad, are probably my least favorite on the record. And my least favorite on the record is probably God and the Policeman with Casey Musgraves.
Yeah, I don't really like the God and the Policeman either.
I love that that great melody, and I love the message behind that song. Fuck, no. Big disagreement.
I don't really like Casey Musgraves. I think she doesn't really work on this track or on this record.
Dude, she vibes so well with this music. Big disagree on that one. I think she's awesome on this thing.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, I don't really think Casey Musgraves is that special in general, which I know will get me, like, hunted down by a portion of music nerds.
At least it's not Miley Cyrus. At least it's not fucking Miley Cyrus, who has worked with the Lips before.
I guess. But, you know,
I do like the closer. It's not one of my favorites, but I do, and I appreciate the message behind My Religion Is You.
Has one of the best lyrical moments on though.
I think it
has one of the best lyrical moments. If being a Christian is your thing, own it, friend, don't phone it in. Great lyrical line. Great line on that track.
That one stood out to me as well. Even on first listen. I think that this is.
He doesn't know.
What? I just don't know. I just fucking don't know.
Go June.
I just don't know. What don't you know, huh?
Oh, what do you mean? I don't know.
You gonna have a point, or you just open your mouth for no reason?
No, I was gonna say, you know, I agree that maybe the last three tracks aren't the strongest, even though I really like the closer.
I think the middle,
you know, but it's really it's pretty much everything that comes before it, like, is like good to amazing, and the highlights are like so high. Like, I guess, you know,
they're on Quaaludes. They're on Quaaludes, dude.
But so fucking high. It's honestly like it's the only thing I've heard from this year that I like had moments where I was like, yeah, that's, you know, I thought it was fucking incredible. Like,
it just makes me. I haven't been hyped for an upcoming Flaming Lips album in a long time. Like, June and I can attest to this because we've talked about the Lips several times when we would talk about music in high school, because there's a certain set of artists that we would talk about a lot. whenever Flaming Lips came up, you know, June would talk about Yoshimi or Soft Bulletin, or it has Vaseline
Transmissions from a Satellite.
Yeah. And I would always talk about like Embryonic or At War with the Mystics being some of my favorite Lips album. We would kind of like discuss why. Whenever we would talk about Lips recently, though, at that time, you know, Terra had just dropped 2013, and we were both like big disappointment there. I know June was especially disappointed in that record. And then since then, it's just been like, just kind of a slog. They've only recently really brought their A game with King's Mouth, which I really enjoyed. This one, though, is like night and day. Some of their best songwriting to date. Some amazing melodies, amazing lyrical moments. I love the concept.
Lives up to their, do either of you think it lives up to their older material?
Absolutely.
I think that there are absolutely elements of their older material. The one thing that I will criticize it for, I do think the melodies here are really, really strong, even if some of them could be a little more distinct. I do have some criticism of this record. The first would be, I kind of miss how out there the instrumentation could get sometimes, especially on records like Soft Bulletin and Yoshimi. It's quite a reserved
I think that's on purpose, though. I think that's on purpose, though.
I think it is, but I do think that I'm left a little bit disappointed in that regard, even if the instrumentation here is often quite lovely and beautiful at times. I miss some of the weirder noises and things they were able to and there's some of the stranger production choices that they would make on their earlier records that often worked out really, really well.
Right.
Lyrically, however, I think that this is one of their best records. And just as a total package, I think this is their best record since Yoshimi back in like 2001.
Damn, yeah.
I think they haven't had anything as good as this in almost 20 years.
And it's amazing,
which is really, really cool. I love seeing a late career
Blossom
pop up.
It makes me hyped for a Flaming Lips project again. Like, I'm excited for the next thing if we're gonna get more of this. Like, I'm ready.
It just brings me hope because I'm like, you know, you see this shit happen, and I'm like, maybe Bob Dylan will just drop another fucking. It could happen. It could just happen. He's old.
I'm curious, like, Brian, how does
or like
So, Brian, this is like your second introduction to the Lips. Are you more interested in checking out this band after hearing this?
I didn't know it was like this. I thought it was all like At War with the Mystics. And if that was the case, I was going to be like, pass. It's cool, but I don't really care. Like, I didn't know they could do this. You didn't tell me this, Chaz. You picked the wrong album. Yeah. You fucked up.
Bitch, they hadn't released it.
You have a Soft Bulletin.
First off, fucker, they didn't release it yet. They wouldn't have released it for like a couple of years. And second, I did tell you this. We literally mentioned this in the review, but were you listening? Probably not. You were probably trying to upload some dumbass horse pic in the group chat again. That didn't exist at the time because we were in the studio.
No, it probably existed. This is probably from like 2013 or something.
I think across the board, some of their catchiest melodies, best songwriting, best lyrics in a long time. I love the female vocals. I love Wayne's vocals. Some of his best performances in a while. Because I feel like lately, before this one, he was kind of phoning it in a little bit. Just giving the Wayne performance.
We're phoning it in general since the turn of the 2010s.
But now,
for sure, I think
he really brought his A game here. I still think some of the lyrical content is a little cliche, but having you mentioned why it is like that, I do agree. I just think some of the choices here, like I said, Girl and World, every time I hear that, I just roll my eyes. I just think it's such a easy... I think it's just such a...
I roll my eyes at your critique, sir.
I disagree, though. I feel like the first 1 through 5, flawless, and tracks 9 through 13, flawless. It kind of goes a little weaker for me with Mother I've Taken LSD to You and Me Selling Weed. I'm surprised that those were some of your guys' highlights, especially You and Me Selling Weed. Was not expecting that to be a favorite, Brian, but I think it's cool that we all have like different favorites. I love this thing. Strong 8. I'm so happy that the Lips are good again.
Nah, don't get your fucking hopes up.
I know.
You know, really good, really gorgeous. Overall, really, really good. Not a single bad track. Basically, no complaints other than that. The Casey Musgraves feature on the second to last track is just it just clashes for me. It reminds me of that Kieran track with Wife's Blood on it, where it's like this isn't working. But other than that, all extremely good. I mean, just stunning, and you know, I don't know. I was, and I think part of it was just not knowing the Lips had this in them because I'm not familiar with them. So, you know, it's cool that they spit out a late era, gem, like you said, June, just because, this was fucking good as shit. Oh my God. And it's so reflective. It really only could have come at this point in their career because it's such a step back and a look back on their lives, and maybe that's why they revisited or went back to kind of the sound they had back in the day. Whatever, man. Really great album. Really great album. I would strong 8 to a light 9. I thought it was fucking great.
Well, I have some issues with this thing. Overall, I really, really enjoyed it. Like I said, it's the best Lips record. I think the most consistent Lips record since Yoshimi, which at this point has gone down as a classic. Like, that's how long it's been since Yoshimi. I'm going to go with like a light 8 on this one. I do think that the instrumentation and song structures could have been a little more adventurous. And I do think the production's a bit flawed too. I think that the vocals are mixed really highly and some of it is just a little, I don't know, I wish that the instrumentation had more room to breathe. It's a little too compressed, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, that's mostly just a nitpick. It just kind of makes me long for the sublimely produced, expansive, ambitious Soft Bulletin, which is still my favorite Lips record.
What are we doing next week?
Next week is a themed episode.
So, underrated albums was probably one of our best episodes, best discussions, best picks, really highly rated episode. Just like how fate works, when we do something really good, we got to do something really bad. Now, who knows? This might go over just as well, but given our picks, probably not. We are doing overhated albums. Albums that we personally think, the albums we chose, do not deserve the hate that they get or have gotten, depending on what we've chosen. I've chosen a classic in this regard. Bad Religion's second studio album, Into the Unknown. Hot off the press with their debut, How Could Hell Be Any Worse? The Bad Religion became one of the core members of like the early 80s, late 80s punk movement that was, really kicking off in the West Coast. They fucked that all up with a prog album and have
like disowned this album. Like the band has literally been
they have not released
it's so bad and so badly received. It's like Disney. It's become a collector's item because there's no point in repressing it.
However,
because it's bad.
However, it's not bad. I actually think it's pretty good. The only reason it was panned so much is because punk fans
fucking
hate.
Of course you do.
Hate prog. That is the whole reason punk became such a massive movement, was because of the prog movement of the late 70s. So why they did this, I have no idea. But the album is actually pretty good. I must warn you, though, you are going to feel whiplash like you've never felt before with that opening track.
Yeah, me and Brian both listened to the debut Bad Religion record in preparation for this, so
and they enjoyed it. So I'm curious how this is going to go.
I could see why people like it so much because it's got such good potential. Like that, I feel like that first record of theirs is like, oh my goodness, like if they could just somehow take this a little bit further, it'd be so good.
It's great. I think it's a great punk record.
I just love that. I think that, and the second one's like, this one's about space, like like,
but we'll
you look
see.
at the cover, you're like, why? I can see why they would feel that way.
What the fuck happened? Like, I need to know the story behind
I'll explain.
this.
It'd be like if like the Money Store came out and then they were like, country record. Alex,
there's a lot of background to this record. A lot of it's pretty interesting, and we'll get into in discussion. But I think this is good. I think it does not at all deserve the hate it got. I think punk fans are a bunch of whiny bitches sometimes, and this is a perfect example. But because this is the most punk thing you could do. Hey, you want some punk? Fuck you, prog record. Like, hell yeah, that's as punk as it gets. So we'll see.
As punk as it gets?
No.
Brian,
I think this would be interesting.
Brian, it was just a bad move.
Brian is bringing more Scott Walker. Oh wait, no, I guess not. But I guess we'll see.
All right, run it back, you fucking idiot! Jesus fucking Christ! All right, so Chaz, who's never heard a solo Lou Reed record, and Chaz, who's probably heard a Metallica solo record, and Chaz, who's also never heard a Velvet Underground record, as far as I know.
No.
Yeah, so I've never heard his solo albums. I'm familiar with Velvet Underground to their biggest, one of their albums I love a lot.
This one I'm genuinely curious about.
Lou Reed.
There's a lot of
do Lou Reed. We talked about Metal Machine music, but not Transformer, not Berlin, not New York, not the good shit. We did the fucking noise record. So anyway, I'm not bitter. So anyway, yeah, I've never heard a Metallica record. We're gonna do Lulu, and Lulu is a collaboration between thrash metal band Metallica.
And
this is like a post Saint Anger
album is
Metallica record.
Infamous, but I'm actually kind of curious.
This is post My Lifestyle Determines My Death style. Like this is after that.
Side note: I think when we introduce these records in the discussion, we need to give a little reason why we think it did not deserve the hate it gets. Because I'm genuinely curious why you think this album is good, Brian. Like, because I've heard...
Well, you said, like, you know, punk fans... I don't want to talk about it too much here, but you were like, punk fans don't want prog music on the fucking... After they hear a good... You know, it's like punk record into prog record. Punk fans are like, what the fuck? You know, I mean, Metallica fans had just heard Saint Anger, so really, you know, nowhere but up, right? Like, they couldn't...
Fair enough.
In theory, it's like, that was their worst record. They literally couldn't do worse. But then,
Lulu
like,
got a lot of hate.
Along. And look, Metallica, there's no way anyone who listened to Saint Anger was like... And it, like Saint Anger, like the guy who has Salt Life on the back of his Ford F-150, and also he's like pushing 50. You know, like this is like an old boomer metal album, basically. But Lulu is like not that, and even pretentious people don't like Lulu. Like even like people like me who are like yeah, indulgent, yeah, fantastic. Like the people who like this heat and like Lou Reed's more indulgent shit don't even like this. Like they're like, whoa. You know, the reaction all around from all types of fans of music is like, no, not this. So that made me curious because I've heard two songs from it that are pretty good. And I was like, okay, I mean, I like the song that's the most memed, but not because it's a meme. I think it's pretty badass. The View, like I like that song, but there's like an hour and a half of material that's left to contend with, and like a 19-minute song. Like there's a lot. It's a lot to unpack. So we're gonna do that one because people don't like that. People don't like that album, and maybe it's overhated. I'm not sure, really. But to be honest with you, I just needed a pick, and Lulu was like, "Yeah, I'll give this a go."
The record that I picked is basically
the best pick. Three
women just having a grand old time, just having a hoot, making music, doing their thing.
Free of all outside influence, it would seem.
Say it, June.
The Shags, yes! The infamous Shags,
yes,
with Philosophy of the World, commonly referred to by some people as just like the worst album ever. Like this is one of those records that gets brought up when that discussion comes up.
I punched up, I'll punch down. Those people who say that have not heard Ragdoll's Playground yet, so you know. I feel like that's a strong...
You punched yourself, dog. What the fuck? Oh, this is brutal. This is like sad to watch.
I'm hyped for this.
We'll get into the background of the Shags more on the episode, but yeah, it's basically it's an example of like outsider music because they hadn't really heard music before, and they were like their dad gave them instruments and like make an album.
But there's a whole reason why he did that. Crazy. It's a whole thing. It's a whole fucking thing.
So, like, I've heard one song from this. I don't know if, like, you know, it's not very good.
It's all like that. It's
all like that. But it's not like I don't know if I'm as annoyed by it as, like, I am Diet Sick lyrics or, like, Meat Men jokes. You know, so we'll see. We'll see.
This will be an interesting one. This is, like, the most tightrope walked we've had to for the show. Because this could go really well.
This episode... No, it's going to go. I think it's going to be shit. I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty bad. But, you know, that's kind of the fun. This is the only way to do an episode of albums that are potentially terrible without just doing, like, bad albums, which would suck. I don't want to do that. But doing Overhated is like, okay, make the case, you monkey.
Yeah, facts. Facts. I can't wait.
This has been Unwarranted Music Opinions. I'm June Lindberg. I was here with Chaz Jenkins.
Oh, fuck.
And Brian Courtney.
Pardon.
Fuck you!
See you next time.
Did he pick up on the mic?
Yes.
Yeah, I did. I heard it.
Did you catch the wind, so to speak? Did you catch the wind that I broke?
Fucking swan songs.